Hello, everybody. How you doing? It is time for the big show. Mickey in the middle, coming at you from wherever I am and wherever you happen to be. We're going to have a great night tonight. Tonight we're talking about the Times Magazine article. Couldn't believe that. I mean, it's just, what a mess. I'm telling you right now, it's just an absolute mess. Did they steal it? Did they not steal it? What is stealing an election? Do me a favor, as soon as you get here, let me know that you're here. Hello, Don Ledger, gold medalist out there in Arizona, coming in live. Hello, Don. Hot evening to you as well. Hello, Susie with a silver medal. Steve Hayes with the bronze medal all the way down there in Florida. Look at that. We have people all the way from Arizona, all the way to Florida. We expect Alaska to be checking in here. Lance Jones, hey, hey, hey. How you doing? Glad to see that you're here. I've just been absolutely gobsmacked since Friday over this Times article. I am just absolutely blown away by the audacity that these people have. To think that the American people are so just such a mess. The American people have no idea what's going on. We're horrible. We're horrible. So, all right, I'm ready to get the show started. So, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. And hello, everybody. Welcome to the big show. My name is Mickey. This is Mickey in the Middle. This is the quintessential show for every American who cares about the country and who loves our country enough to participate in it as a middle American. Now, I am nobody special. I'm just a person with an opinion. Everything that I say is an opinion. Everything I quote is going to be a quote. Everything that I show you is going to be shown you, and those people are responsible for that stuff. I'll be responsible for mine. So, word is on the street that middle Americans are gullible, that we're stupid, that we have no idea what's going on, that we need to be taken care of. And that the overlords of the internet, the overlords of politics, the overlords of business, the overlords in Wall Street will tell us and our pathetic minds what to think and how to act, and all of the things that are important to us. They're going to decide how we educate our children, where we get our medicine from, how we're going to get medical services, where we should work, what political parties we're supposed to be, who we're supposed to associate, who we're not supposed to associate. You don't have to worry about any of that crap. All you have to do is prove your loyalty to the woke culture or to the not woke culture. So I got canceled by a friend. Well, I thought it was a friend. So let's see. That was 1990, 89, somewhere 88, 89. I found somebody 1988, 1989. Great dude. I always liked him. So I put something up there on the old Facebook, and a friend canceled me because of it. Said, hey, I can't be friends with you anymore. And I'm cool with that. I understand. I'm a maniac. I'm a maniac. So what happened was I had posted something about a museum showing the U-2 airplane. Not the U-2 band, but the U-2 airplane. It was going to be a week-long celebration of the aircraft called the U-2. The Dragon Lady, I think is what it's called. I don't know. Anyway, so the article that I found it in was about the one and only black woman U-2 pilot that's ever been in. And I was like, oh yeah, click. Yeah, that's kind of cool. She kind of made something of herself. And she's going to be speaking at this museum up in Dayton, Ohio called the United States Air Force Museum. And I thought it was going to be cool because they're going to open up the cockpit and they're going to show support equipment. And she's going to do a lecture along with several other people that are going to be doing lectures about the U-2 throughout the week. So I just kind of posted it out there. And then somebody said to me, friend since the 1980s, late 1980s, something about my not white privilege. What's the other one? That's not white privilege. It's, I don't know. So what was it? What was it? Hold on just a second. I gotta find the exact same comment. It's about my white privilege, right? So I'm white privileged. I've got white privilege, and I'm woke. So they basically kicked me to the curb. And here's what the thing is. That's okay. I'm cool with being kicked to the curb. Listen, I've been kicked to the curb a lot in my entire life. But a friend of mine, who I thought was a friend of mine, said, hey, look here, man. You know, your white privilege, your white wokeness, enjoy that. And I just thought I posted something about a museum. So now I thought that I needed to explain myself, because I don't believe that I have any white privilege. Right? I just don't think that I have any white privilege. That's just the way that I feel, right? I'm just me going through life. And when I get something that I think is a good deal, I'm going to take it. And I'm going to go through life, and I'm going to make sure that I take advantage of all the opportunities afforded me. Like a public education, right? Through K through 12, I took advantage of that. I took advantage of being able to join the military, get an education from that. Just like anybody of any demographic, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, whether you're LGBT, whether you are anybody else, you go out and you make your way in this life. So anyway, I got canceled for that. And my response, and I'm not going to read my exact response to that, but what I am going to read is something that I think is relevant to everybody, especially in the day when we're talking about the Times article where we cannot take care of ourselves. See, culture is starting to define the middle class. So I just want to let you know that I felt the need to, that if you felt the need to unfriend me, okay, whatever. I don't have any white guilt, nor do I have any white privilege. Oh, that's what it was, white guilt. I've got white guilt because I put something about two things. Number one, the only African American or Black American YouTube pilot and the first woman to ever officiate in the Super Bowl. Now, I've been following that woman's career for 5 years, ever since she became an official in the NFL. And her name is Sarah. And she's been in the NFL as an official in the NFL every Sunday for the last 5 years. So when somebody that I admire that goes and calls some good ball, now all of a sudden I put that on there, and all of a sudden now I've got white guilt and I've got man guilt. So I got my mansplaining on. So anyway, those are the two things. And I said I won't let anybody label me. So hey, if you want to label me, go ahead and label me. Here's what the labels I want. I want the labels of loving God, loving my family, loving my country, and then being a good dude. That's what I want, right? So don't tread on me. I won't tread on you. That's as easy. The stories about the United States Air Force Dayton Museum, and I thought that when I said she rose to great heights, 70,000 feet is really great heights. I said, you too. Those things fly super, super high. Anyway, she's a U-2 pilot, and I thought everything. So anyway, somebody canceled me. Somebody canceled me. I don't have any white guilt. Right? I don't want you to be guilty about who you are either. I don't care whether you're white, whether you're black, whether you're Hispanic, whether you're gay, whether you're straight, whether you're religious, whether you're not religious, where you come from, who your parents are. I don't want you to be guilty about any of that stuff. And here's the reason why. I've got one rule. If you cannot help it, then nobody should be talking about that stuff. Like the color of your eyes. You can't do anything about the color of your eyes. So somebody should not be laughing at you, right? if you have big ears like I've got, nobody should make fun of you. If you're overweight, well, hey, nobody should be making fun of you for that. If you're white, you're black, you're Hispanic, you're religious or whatever. I believe that religion is built into people over time. That's who they are at their core. If somebody wants to be gay, wants to be straight, wants to be whatever the heck else, then they can be that. Just leave them alone about it. And they should not have to be put in a position where they feel guilty about that. And if you have any type of a color, or if you have any type of a look, or if you have any type of an anything, and somebody wants to extend you privileges because of that, well, I don't know whether that's right, wrong, or indifferent. All I know is that I can't help what somebody else does for me. I can only count on myself doing things for others in an equal and fair way. So if I can't control other people because I don't want to, I either deal with them or I don't deal with them. And that's the way the middle class needs to be. We need to be able to deal with each other as the middle class because we are trying to be manipulated. And my friend tried to manipulate me. He was like, hey, you have white guilt. You have white privilege. I'm like, hey, man, thanks for the assist over there. Your other label is Parachute Packer. That is correct. So, rigor. There you go. I know you're awesome. Oh, thank you very much. It was an awesome. So it was an awesome article, but I want to talk about the article because a lot of people have said that everything was stolen. Everything was stolen, and I want to get to the article. So what I did is I'm going to show you this real quick. So what I did is I took the entire article and I cut it and pasted it into this Word document. So the article was in Times. It's called Stealing the Election by Molly Ball. And I wanted to talk to you about that because the simple fact of the matter is that I am of the opinion that we, as Americans, didn't have the election stolen. We didn't have the election stolen. It was manipulated away from us by very, very, very smart people that decided to influence using politics, using social media, using influence and manipulation in order to do that. Now, every middle American needs to be mad about this because some overlord somewhere decided that you weren't smart enough and that I wasn't smart enough. And so they started manipulating us. So everything that they use these days, right? White privilege, black privilege, right? Using your white card, using your black card, using your Hispanic card, using your status as an illegal alien or a legal alien or as an American citizen, being a woman. They're trying to manipulate us and trying to tell us and manipulate our brains into thinking like they think. They're trying to manipulate us into their bubble. So whether it's socialism driven through climate change, whether it is attitudes towards LGBTQ communities, whether it is about abortion, whether it's about the death penalty, everybody's trying to manipulate you. So all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to expose the facts that you have to be smarter than the manipulation. Because manipulation is the way that we work in today's society. You have to be confident enough in you to realize what they are doing, realize that the information that you are being presented is probably not the truth. And because it's probably not the truth, that means it's your job to get through all of the tall grass and to see the facts as they are. They manipulated the hell out of the election. And they said that they were going to do it. And they did it. And they did it under the disguise of saying Donald Trump is trying to manipulate the election. Now, here's what the thing is. Donald Trump was trying to manipulate the election. Donald Trump was trying to manipulate the election. Just like everybody that was on Joe Biden's side was trying to manipulate the election. So the question is who manipulated best? And the Times article really describes who manipulated the system the best. So I'm going to read a couple of things, and I want to make some points about them because there's a couple of things that are right on the edge of, well, first of all, it was all unscrupulous. It was all bullshit. It was all, but it was legal. But I've said this on this show before. What they did is they took legal means to manipulate the political system, the court system, the social media systems in order to get the results that they wanted. And they did that. And this article perfectly describes this. But they didn't steal the election as... Sorry, they just didn't do that. They didn't steal it, they manipulated it. So let me see if I can get the article up. Nah, I don't want to show you that one yet. Hold on just a second. Let me show you that's Hillary lawsuit, Georgia, vote by mail. All right, so here's the Times article as it's written. You can go to time.com and then go to this right up here, voting by mail and the history of that. I'm sorry, wrong article. This is the history of voting by mail. And Lincoln actually had a lot to do with voting by mail because he wanted everybody in the Union, all of the Union soldiers, to vote for him. So he literally started it. And then there it is. There's the secret history of the shadow campaign that saved the 2020 election. And this thing goes on for pages and pages and pages and pages and pages. So let me get right to my point. So this is what it says. A weird thing happened right after the number 3rd election. Nothing. The nation was braced for chaos. Liberal groups had vowed to take to the streets, planning hundreds of protests across the country. Right-wing militias were girded for battle. In a poll before Election Day, 75% of Americans voiced concerns about the violence. Instead, an eerie quiet descended. Do you know why an eerie quiet descended? Because all of the people that said that they were going to riot were basically manipulated into a position where everybody in Washington, D.C. boarded up their businesses and their houses because they knew that if Donald Trump won, the wheels would come off the country. That's why there was nothing happening. They want you to think that the right wing and the conservatives were going to go and burn cities. That's what they convinced you of. They were like, well, if they did it on one side, they were going to do it on the other side. But that's not true. They manipulated the entire country. They were like, oh, it's going to happen. Donald Trump's going to win and everybody's going to burn the cities. So a lot of people didn't show up. It's absolutely crazy. You know, there are, let me get back to the top of my article. I just brought it down. So let me read this part because this is very, very important. I just realized that the way I do this, all right? It was all very strange. I'm reading in blue. It was all very strange. Trump said on December 2nd, within days after the election, we'd witness an orchestrated effort to anoint the winner, even while many key states were still being counted. In a way, Trump was right. Here is the nuts and bolt. There was a conspiracy unfolding behind the scenes, one that both curtailed the protests and coordinated the resistance from CEOs. Both surprises were a result of an informal alliance between left-wing activists and business titans. The pact was formalized in a terse, little-noticed joint statement of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and AFL-CIO published on Election Day. Both sides would come to see it as a sort of implicit bargain, inspired by the summer's massive, sometimes destructive, racial justice protest in which the forces of labor came together with the forces of capital to keep the peace and oppose Trump's assault on democracy. The handshake between business and labor was just one component of a cross-partisan campaign to protect the election, an extraordinary shadow effort dedicated not to winning the vote, but to ensuring it would be free and fair, credible and incorrupted. For more than a year, a loosely organized coalition of operatives scrambled to shore up America's institutions as they came under simultaneous attack from a remorseless pandemic and autocratically inclined president. It just says that in order to prevent the manipulation of an election, they were going to manipulate an election. That is the craziest thing. How in the world can they come up with the idea as simple as we are going to manipulate the election and there's nothing you can do about it? It is the craziest thing. So what they did, in essence, is they got all of the powerful people together and they said, look here, we've done a ton of research on this. If we go to the court system and we start manipulating the court system and get any judge in any state to authorize massive mail-in voting, we're going to win. If we get massive mail-in voting, we can stop Trump from manipulating the election. So that's where it started. So these groups came and they knew what they were doing. That's why they went to the court system. So they went to the court system and all of a sudden they started manipulating against the Constitution of the United States that says that the legislatures alone have the ability to write the election law for each state. The only difference is that if you can find a judge that authorizes somebody else to write the election laws or manipulate the election laws or put in some type of a statute, then all of a sudden the legislative bodies are not valid. I want you to think about that. If any federal judge or any state judge in any state says, yes, you can do this, that means that they can do it. Remember what I keep telling you about getting away with stuff? If you can get away with stuff, then you can get away with stuff. So what they did is they went to a judge and then everybody went, well, you can't do that. And they were like, we just did. we just did. So what are you going to do about it? You're not going to throw us in jail. And we just effectively changed the law inside of the state that you don't have to have signatures on ballots. That we're going to send out 15 million of these ballots. We're going to send out 15 million ballots. Ha! And there's nothing you can do to stop us. Because then they went to all of the election officials and they said, hey, look here, man, we got this thing from a judge. We're going to order 15 million ballots for all of our constituents and you're going to mail them out. The problem with that is they got away with it. It's legal. It's only legal until you stop them. And if you don't stop them, then they get away with it. So even if you take action after the fact and you take it to the Supreme Court inside of a state, the Supreme Court inside of the state said, well, you know, you saw them taking 15 million ballots and sending them out, but you didn't do anything now. And when you lost, now you come back and you want me to retroactively change that. So no, I'm not going to go back and retroactively change it. Because you should have done it before. You should have been having a problem with this before the election, not after the election. So they got away with it. Are they going to get away with it next time? Probably not. But they got away with it this time because they got away with it. Nobody's going to go to jail. When they talk about harvesting ballots and helping people and moving the location of drop boxes, then all of a sudden they go, well, we're doing this to protect the election. For all the people. It doesn't matter why they did it. That's just a story. So when they can give you any story, they can go, well, actually, we're just doing this to manipulate the election, but we got the ballots boxes moved to heavy urban areas so we can collect more votes, and everybody out in rural America has to travel 20 or 30 miles to drop off a vote. Now, all of a sudden, you've manipulated an election, and it doesn't matter what excuse you gave. You can actually go out and say, I'm manipulating the election, but I'm going to put the ballot box collector here because there's nothing you can do about it anyway. So inside of this article, they keep coming up with justification after justification after justification of why they did it. Well, we're protecting the electorate. We're protecting the voting system. We needed to make sure that Trump didn't do anything strange. We needed to make sure that the Republicans didn't steal the election. They didn't have to give a reason. All they had to do was just do it, and they did it, and they got away with it. The cabal was absolutely insane. So there's this dude. His name is Mike Posner. P-O-D-H. Let me do this. Where is it? Desktop cam and me. There's this dude, Mike Posner. I don't know how you say that. Became convinced the election was headed for disaster and determined to protect it. So he was involved in founding of Catalyst, a flagship progressive data company. They had all the data that they needed. It was only after months of research that he introduced his concerns, and most of our planning takes us through election day, but we are not prepared for the two most likely outcomes, Trump losing and refusing to concede. Now, I want you to think about something. Who talked about the first one to concede? Because that was in October to 2019 that they introduced the idea in this coalition of Trump not conceding. So if Trump didn't concede, when did you hear about it? It was probably the first time you heard about it was from Hillary Clinton. And Hillary Clinton started talking about it late in 2020. So a year before Hillary Clinton said anything about Trump not conceding, they had thought about that a year before. I want you to think about that. They knew that if they introduced the concept that Trump would not concede, that people would go, wait a minute, he's trying to steal the election. So that was a strategy that they came up with to manipulate you. So they had famous people say, Trump's not going to concede. Biden is not going to concede. And then what did Trump do? Trump fell right into their trap. And he's like, hey, if Joe Biden's not going to concede, then I'm not going to concede. And then everybody turned on Trump saying, Trump's not going to concede. Look at that. And nobody said anything about Biden not conceding because Biden was smart enough to keep his mouth shut. So Biden keeps his mouth shut. Trump says, well, Biden's not going to concede, so I'm not going to concede. And now all of a sudden everybody's like, man, he's trying to become a dictator. Got in everybody's head. Then they developed something called the Fight Back Table, a coalition of resistance organizations. And they went out and they got a group of former elected officials, researched emergency powers. They said that they feared Trump might exploit the democratic process. So then they got together a bunch of people. So who are the people? Well, the people were discussed right here. 3-page confidential memo titled Threats to the 2020 Election. Trump had made it clear it will not be a fair election. They said that. He didn't say that. On November 3rd, the media reported otherwise and right-wing information to establish his narrative and cite his supporters. The memo laid out 4 categories of changes: attacks on voters, attacks on election administration, attacks on Trump's political opponents, and efforts to reverse the results of the election. It's crazy. Then they started taking money and they steered it towards Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights. 150 organizations, most of which were Democratic, signed a letter to every member of Congress seeking $2 billion in election funding, of which they got $500 million that went to all of these organizations. Private philanthropic stepped into the breach, fill in the rest of that, and Chan Zuckerberg Mark Zuckerberg's wife, chipped in $300 million. It was a failure at the federal level in that 2,500 election. Local officials were forced to apply for philanthropic grants. The Institute gave secretaries of state from both parties technical advice on everything from which vendors to use to locate drop and how to locate drop boxes. Local officials are most trusted sources of election information, but few can afford the press secretary, so the Institute distributed communication toolboxes. In August and September, it sent ballot applications to 15 million people in key states, 4.6 million of whom returned them. In mailings and digital ads, the group urged people not to wait for Election Day. All the work we've done for 17 years was built into this moment, bringing democracy to the people's doorstep. That right there did it. They went to the election officials. They used COVID because they knew that they were going to use that to manipulate the system. And then they took $700 million to manipulate the system by canvassing, by advertising, and to canvass and to move drop boxes, which were all legal according to the judges that now changed election law in all of the states. So my question is, what's legal? What's legal? Is manipulating you legal? Because that's what they've done. They've manipulated the system. We need to spend our money local and ditch Amazon, Walmart, and all of the big box stores, says Lance Jones. Hurt them by voting with your dollars. Facebook is too tough. Twitter's easy to cancel. How do we realistically do this? Well, I'm working on that, to tell you the truth, Lance. How do we fix this? Number one, stop giving Mark Zuckerberg and Twitter people money. I don't know how to do that right now. I don't know how to wean that off, right? There are other platforms going out there like local.com, right? So you can go in, and it's a loosely organized organization, right? So there's Weemy out there. Parler will be back eventually. There's other organizations that are out there. You just have to bring your friends with you. So how should I use my special needs parent card? Well, Greg, we all have cards that we have to, that we are assigned. We do not get to choose the cards that we carry in our pocket, right? We just don't. So whoever you are, however you define yourself, are all of the cards that you have in your pocket. And they manipulated all of the cards. They manipulated black cards. They manipulated white cards. They manipulated white people. They manipulated rich people. They manipulated Hispanic organizations. They're manipulating all of these groups and all of the people that have these cards. And then they keep saying that the other person is your enemy. So what does it do? It's driving a wedge in between us. Here's the way that they did it on social media. And I've got to show you this because this is relevant. This right here is the disinformation crackdown. This right here comes from Nature right here. It's media.nature.com, magazine, assets, and this right here is the way that it goes, right? But this right here is left-wing sites that were canceled on Twitter, all in black. This right here is a pro-Trump and QAnon activist that had everything dismantled on Twitter and on other media platforms. And this right here are conservatives. See how blue this is? And see how this is black and ugly? And see how this is really black and ugly? What that is those were all of the accounts that were canceled. And it basically ran 3-1 against conservatives against the political left. So they manipulated you and me by scaring us by scaring us and threatening us if we didn't comply, if we didn't shut up, that we were going to be canceled and taken away the fear of loss from all of our friends and neighbors, that they were going to ban us, demonetize us, deplatform us. And it happened on the left and it happened on the right, but it happened on the right a heck of a lot more than it happened on the left. You know, the fact of the matter that all of the Trump was wiped off of all of the social media sites. Trump was gone. Had no voice on Twitter. He had no voice on Facebook. He had no voice on WeMe or anywhere else, just wiped right off. And then they wiped off all the other accounts. And then they demonetized and deplatformed a whole bunch of conservative sites, getting them to shut up as well. And then they labeled everything. They labeled all the fact checkers. And most of those were opinions. So you weren't allowed to have your opinion, because that's what they're doing to middle Americans. They're saying that you cannot have your opinion and that you can't post what you want to post, because if it goes against their community guidelines, all of a sudden you get wiped. And then they go to the court system and they manipulate where the ballot boxes go, and they canvass certain neighborhoods, but they only gave money to 23 states. They didn't give it to all 50 states. They only gave money to the organizations that needed it in order to make sure that Trump didn't win. And it's all legal. So you're being manipulated. I just wanted to make sure that you knew that it wasn't stolen. It was manipulated away. And I don't know, I'm just a middle American dude that doesn't have any power. But that's what they're doing. They're manipulating you like putty. They're getting you to comply. So my advice to you is find out who you are. Get grounded in yourself. Don't let anybody label you. You label yourself and you call them out if they try to label you. I sent a message to my friend who labeled me. And I responded back. And I said, this is the way that I feel about this entire situation. This is the way that I did this. I will not let anybody label me. That includes you. So because when you label me or you try to manipulate me, I'm not being true to myself. And that's why I started with this. People are going to try to manipulate you. If you have to leave a social media platform, I will be more than happy to send you my email or my telephone number so that we can stay in touch. I'm on Rumble. I'll be on Parler when it gets back. I'm also on WeMe. I need to get on those more, but I've been working too hard on projects that I got to save the country, because we're going to have a great American picnic. We're going to have Operation 535. If I can... By the way, I'm looking for a couple of computer programmers so I can take over the world with a social media site. 700 million is a shit ton of money to overcome from the overlords. I'm telling you, they manipulated the crap out of America. America should be madder than hell that these people manipulated us to the point where our democracy and the democratic process was so twisted that we did not get a free and fair election. It was manipulated from the word go, and Trump tried to manipulate, but these guys manipulated better. So all of the manipulation aside, all I need you to do is be true to yourself, be true to me, and I will try to be true to you. So tomorrow is going to be what's happening on in the military, and about the purity test. It's a purity test, right? It's not really a purity test. It's just making sure that everybody's neutral, right? So anyway, I promised somebody I was going to do that. So that's what we're going to do next. So thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Mickey. This is Mickey in the Middle, every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Central, right wherever I am. Thanks a lot for joining me. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate your time, your attention, your patience, and your love. And remember, everybody, thank you for your comments. Remember to live, laugh, love. Peace. See ya.